Hey, this is Al from Transformational Gaming. Appreciate you coming by. Appreciate you coming to the channel. Today, I would like to talk about our year-end review for the best game of the year, or the best game I have played this year. But before we get into all of that, I'd like to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel. Please comment in the comment section. Please give this video a like, or feel free to give it a thumbs down if you don't like it. I know that I've looked at some of our past year-end reviews and they're not too good. So on this one, I'm decided to make it more streamlined, mention less games. So it won't be like a 23-minute foray into all the games that I've played. That being said, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the influx of subscribers that have seemed to come to the page and has decided to subscribe to the page, and for that I am very appreciative for you doing that. I am ecstatic that you decided to choose this channel. The subscribing count has increased significantly and we're almost to 900. Now, I'm not in a situation where we have to get to 900 like in a quick, fast, and hurry, because while the subscriber count has went up, the watch time has gone down. But some of you guys have committed to increasing the watch time for Al and for the channel, and I appreciate that. But the watch time is still down significantly. Now, I understand that YouTube is suppressing video because they want to make room for videos that they feel like they can make more money on, and I understand. But with all that being said, please continue to watch the videos, and I'll definitely try to increase the watch time value and make it worth your while to come here to the channel. I'm not really looking for any handouts. If you guys don't like the content, you don't like the content. But I do my best to try and entertain you guys while I'm here. I try to edit the videos and at the same time not make them too jumpy, because at the end of the day, you do want to see a game, you do want to see playthroughs, you do want to see commentary, but at the same time, I do understand the value of time, and so 4 hours is a very long time to be watching a video of any sort. But at the same time, I do want to increase that content so that you can use the videos for more than just watching, right? But at the same time, I want to give you a variety of different things, so that's why we don't just do gameplay here. We do a vast amount of other things, including things like this, like the game of the year. As I do play games throughout the year, I do want to be able to rank them. And so, again, very, very appreciative for the viewership and for the response to the Resident Evil 4 video. And with all of that said, it would be highway robbery if I did not purchase that game and do a gameplay walkthrough for it. So look forward to that. Now let's get into the year-end review. So in the year 2022, it was actually a pretty good year, a pretty spectacular year. We got a variety of great games. So I'll be doing honorable mentions, but for right now, I decided this year, instead of me going through all the games that I've played in like short order, I'd rather focus in on 3 games and then do some honorable mentions before we hit the number 1. Now, in the third slot, we're going with Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, this game, to be honest with you people, came out of nowhere. I mean, it just kind of came out of nowhere. And I just never thought a game like this would satisfy all of the stuff that I like about third-person shooters. And to be totally honest with you, it's pretty technical as far as the control scheme and stuff is. And the graphics are surprisingly great. They're actually better than a lot of these Unreal 5 games that have came out just recently. And this game in particular has not just the graphics, but some of the storyline and acting that goes with an epic genre like MCU universe, and really the acting chops, the banter that goes back and forth between the heroes. And honestly, I'm not necessarily a Guardians of the Galaxy like guru as far as knowing all of the characters, but to be totally honest with you, the Peter Quill and the Rocket banter and the Drax between them three, it's just like the movie. You get a lot of great banter between those three. And then you got your Gamoras and Drax stuff. But I'm just going to be honest with you, man. You don't really find, even Ninja Turtles don't have great banter, surprisingly, like you would think it would. And this game really nails it. I mean, Star-Lord, the lore around him, and the other characters are just phenomenal. And so I'm willing to put it out there and say this is one of the better games that I played. Now, I understand that this game didn't necessarily come out in 2022. I actually think this is a 2021 game, but I think at the same time it came out late last year, so I didn't really get to play it because I had other games I needed to play. But with that being said, this game is just so surprising, and I wish that I was able to get a better color filter for the game to display it, but I was trying to shoot the game in 4K and then process the game in 4K to hope to get a quality image, but it just didn't happen. And so even shooting that video, I was still learning about the whole video uploading process. And so that's kind of one of the pains, is that even though it's very sharp, you don't really have the color depth that you would had I shot the game in 1080p on Sony's machine or shot it natively on PC. That being said, this game still looks phenomenal, and you guys commented it and definitely sold it over the top as far as it being the number 3 spot. And I appreciate your guys' comments, and I do agree that this was probably one of the better games of last year. Now, there is some downside to it. I honestly believe that the action is hurt by the animations of the enemies not necessarily taking any real effect. Now, don't get me wrong, there is some knockdown moves that you can do, some tripping moves or whatever, but there's not really any type of move that you can do, especially like if you're shooting at one of the characters. Like, they just blow right through that. And there's no real shotgun, right? So if you shoot somebody, they're probably going to look like they're not going to feel it until they're about to die, which I get that as a gameplay mechanic, but no, you have to have some type of reaction even on first shot. I don't care who you are, what planet you from, what you do, you're going to at least flinch when a bullet comes for your head. So, but that being said, great game, love it. So in the 2 slot, we got God of War. Now, I understand that both of these games came out late last year, but Callisto came out like December 2nd. So we're going to slide that into next year if it makes it in the top 2 or 3, right? But that being said, we're going to replace Callisto with God of War. It did come out in November, and it was able to have a presence, a notoriety for 2022. And so with that being said, God of War is number 2 on the list. Now, here's the situation with God of War. God of War is a phenomenal game. It has all of the positives of God of War 1 and capitalizes in God of War Ragnarok or God of War 2, however you want to refer to it, in every single manner. Now, with that being said, there are some serious issues with God of War. And the reality of the matter is that it's all about opinion, right? Because to be totally honest with you, to me, God of War in 2022 kind of came off a little bit corny. Now, that's not to say that the storyline wasn't good, but it just seems like in this game, especially some of the banter kind of fell flat. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the banter that made it corny, But there was some banter between Thor and Kratos, and you say it's just a different actor playing it. I mean, that's just what it is. And I understand that the same actor is playing the same Kratos in this one, but it's not the same one from 2005, where he was a lot more. I don't know. The banter seems a lot more, and there wasn't really a lot of banter within the game, but the cutscene banter was legendary, and the banter here, it just doesn't really measure up to, especially God of War 3. Like, the banter just does not measure up to God of War 3, and I just thought the banter between Thor and Kratos fell a little bit flat. But I will say there was some great references, especially to the killing of his children, and I'm talking about Thor, right? So there was some great references between the killing of Thor's children, and there was some great references to the insight of what Odin was doing. And I'm not going to get into all the lore of Norse mythology, because that's really not my bag, right? My bag is in commentating on which game I like the best, being that I played and beat these games. But with that being said, 2018 was a lot better. Now, the story, to be totally honest with you, was not as good, was not as wholesome. And I think because, the reality of the matter is that they try to mature Atreus, and really, at that point in time, Atreus may have been 13 or 14 years old. And really, there's not a lot of maturity between the ages of maybe 8 or 9 and the ages of 13 or 14. It's just not. And so it's really kind of like the same old kid with a deeper voice. So that was kind of a knock. Like I said, it's a small knock, but it's a knock that I'm noticed. And that's why I played the first God of War right after I played Ragnarok, because of the contrast that I wanted the audience to see between the two. And so there's some other issues as far as the game pacing is concerned. I understand they went to the land of giants. I think it's called Jotunheim. And I understand they wanted to make Jotunheim significant because that's where Atreus' heritage is from. But the reality of the matter is that I don't really care about the heritage of Atreus. And I think that got lost because the game wasn't about Kratos. And people play God of War to play Kratos. I'm sorry. And, having this little girl being like your sidekick, it just all falls flat. That little area, I could have done without that area, to be honest with you. They could have thrown that whole area out, and I wouldn't have took 2 blinks, to be totally honest with you. And if you play God of War 1, you'll see what I'm talking about. If you don't want to watch my gameplay, actually go and buy the God of War 2018 and play it. And then play Ragnarok. And you'll see what I'm talking about. When you get in there, you want to play Kratos and Kratos only. You do not want to play as Freya or Atreus. And don't get me wrong, their mechanics aren't that bad. It's just that you go way too long playing with them, man. And, it's just unfortunate that you have that long lull. And, that lull is a few hours. It's at least 3 hours. I mean, it's significant. I mean, you go through the whole Jotunheim, and then you actually fight a boss there. And it's significant. And so I almost threw God of War out, because God of War is one of my favorite games. And to be honest with you, the part that you two play Kratos in is pretty good. But let's not be remiss to mention that there is a significant part of the game that you don't play as Kratos, and it's not good. I mean, you play as Atreus. Now, I do like the fact that they had a presence of mind to swap out Freya and swap out Atreus as your sidekick, which that was pretty nice as well. But there's some other downers to the game, right? Like the frame rate, and they didn't mention this on Digital Foundry. They did correct some of it. Some of it is a lot better. But the Last of Us remake and the God of War Ragnarok, I don't know what they're doing with the frame rate, but that does not look as smooth as 2018. It just doesn't. So that was a big thing because I noticed it. I'm like, is this moving 60 frames per second? I had to toggle it, and it looked pretty consistent, but something about it just looked choppy. And when I put in God of War 2018, I don't know if it's the situation with like the VRR or whatever they got going on with that. I don't know if it's the variable refresh or it was just the game was just choppy. But I know when I put in 2018 God of War, it moves a lot smoother. It animates a lot smoother. They did some type of update with The Last of Us. But if you go back and you look at my original gameplay and then you go back and play The Last of Us remake and do the same with God of War Ragnarok, like there's some type of interpolation that they're doing where that thing doesn't look 60 frames per second. It may be running at a frame rate of 60 frames per second, but it doesn't look 60 frames per second. And they eventually did an update to make it look smoother, but initially I was surprised that Digital Foundry didn't point that out because they are the kings of why we got all these frame rate options and stuff right now. To be totally honest with you, they've influenced that. But that being said, God of War 2018 is better to me than God of War Ragnarok. That doesn't not make God of War Ragnarok a bad game, but it does put a spotlight on some of the situations that's going on with Sony. And I'll be talking about that at some other point in time. But God of War Ragnarok number 2. Now, before we get into the number 1 game, and you probably know what game I'm talking about, I do want to do some honorable mentions. Look, I mentioned one of the games, but I want to mention all of the remakes that came out this year in the PC. The God of War 2018 PC, I think, came out this year. There was a Spider-Man that came out this year that came out on PC, and there was a lot of remakes that came out, and there's some actual remakes that came out this year. But I just want to send shout outs to all of them. I think all in all, those were wonderfully made and wonderfully done. So kudos to them for that. But I can't put that in my game of the year because at the end of the day, those are remakes and those are not original titles. And that's what I want on the channel is original titles. I do want to send a shout out to Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles was actually pretty good. I played it a couple of times. I beat it once by myself, and then I actually played it with my family, which was very entertaining. And I think that's honestly pretty much it as far as honorable mentions. If there are some that I missed, please let me know in the comment section. But I don't remember really playing anything else outside of what I played and what I've mentioned on this video. Now, of course, our game of the year, my game of the year, is in fact Horizon Forbidden West. Now, Horizon Forbidden West is an excellent game. Top to bottom, it's second to none. I still have not played Elden Ring. Elden Ring, from what I hear, is all that in a bag of chips. But I'm sorry. Just looking at the game, I just can't play anything like that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll probably play it one time when it's on sale or when it's on PlayStation Plus or something like that. I'll probably download it just to check it out. But just looking at that game, there's no way I'm paying full price for that game. I just have no interest in it. I know what it's all about. And to be totally honest with you, it's just not my type of game. It's just not my type of game, and I don't mean any harm. I know the developers worked really hard on it, but to be totally honest with you, that's just not my type of game. And so, yeah, we're sticking with Horizon Forbidden West. Feel free to comment in the comment section about what I'm missing out on. Maybe y'all can convince me to buy the game. I don't know. But from where I've seen a lot of gameplay, I've been on a lot of people's channel watching them play this game. I get the same effect that I get from something like Gran Turismo. I can look at Gran Turismo and say, no. Okay. And so going into Forbidden West, again, top to bottom, that game is awesome. Even with all of the technical hiccups that's a part of the game, especially on the PS4. That game from top to bottom, I've seen you guys' channels. I've gone to y'all's channels. Y'all played that for a solid 6 months, even while Elden Ring was out. I just have a different perspective, and I've seen almost every channel play that game like twice. And even myself, I played Horizon Forbidden West and put it 2 different playthroughs in the same uploads that I did for the one time that I had capture. That capture for all those episodes that I had was from 2 different playthroughs. So that's why you see the first half of the capture for my playthrough for Horizon Forbidden West is in that granular color. And that's, again, because I was capturing it a certain way. And as you see, when I went back to the other way that I captured it, it looked a lot more vibrant and had a lot more fidelity. So with that being said, regardless of how the capture went, which I wish it went a lot better, but people were doing all types of playthroughs and even encouraged me to do different types of uploads for Forbidden West and certain missions that didn't go into the first playthrough proper. So very entertained by the game. Man, I just can't say enough about Horizon Forbidden West. The gameplay, you can try to build some controversy into the gameplay, but I just think for the most part, the gameplay was very responsive. It had all types of different weapons you can use. It was flexible enough to where you didn't necessarily have to play one way. You could play this game multiple different ways. You can play sneak style, you can play shooter style, you can play melee style, you can play magic style, just craft all type of magic or whatever, and bombs or whatever. And you can do whatever you wanted to do in that game, you could do. The graphics, people still, it's 2023 and people still upload different pictures or different angles of the game to where you can't even tell if it's real or not. There is a channel out there that actually compares like the real life locations of different areas of San Francisco versus the in-game version of it. And I'm going to tell you one thing, those comparisons are phenomenal. And I still don't know what kind of API. I know they're using the Decima engine, but the optimization that went into that game to have the game move 60 frames per second consistently, have that game moving 60 frames per second is an accomplishment and a testament to the Decima engine, and is the reason why somebody like Kojima keeps coming back, because Kojima knows, hey, I don't have to spend 10 years building the engine for one game. I already have it. And that's what keeps Kojima coming back to Sony, because of that damn Decima engine. And that Decima engine is something to behold. You can see it in Horizon. You can see it in Death Stranding. The Decima engine is just something to behold. And I'm very proud of the team from Sony. And it's probably the best graphic renderer out there, to be honest with you, even more so than Unreal Engine 5 and the rest of these engines out there. It's probably the best game renderer, the game engine that is out there, and that's bar none. So with that being said, that is the conclusion. That is my game of the year. I don't care how good Elden Ring is. It's just the graphics and all of the technical issues that game seems to have. There's no way that can be game of the year, especially if the gameplay is comparable to what Horizon Forbidden West is doing. You could probably telegraph it from a mile away But regardless, that's my game of the year. I think we had some pretty good discussions. If you like the channel, please subscribe. Please like the channel. And let me know what y'all think. What's y'all game of the year? I won't condemn you. I'll just argue with you that you're wrong. So I am interested in what you guys think, because a lot of you guys out there who are subscribed to me are creators, and you guys may have a game of the year that I may not have seen. So let me know what y'all think. I know it's late in the year. Actually, it's already the middle of February. I usually do it way before then, but I had to move this year, and I was not told that I needed to move, if you know what I'm trying to say. So so anyway, we had to scramble for that, but it's all good. We made it to where we needed to be. The office is all set up, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. This is Al from Transformational Gaming, and may the truth set you free. Later.